Errominxela is the distinctive language of a group of Romani living in the Basque Country, who also go by the name Errominxela. It is sometimes called Basque Caló or Errumantxela in English, Caló Vasco, Romani Vasco, or Errominchela in Spanish, and euskado-rromani or euskado-romani in French. Although detailed accounts of the language date to the end of the 19th century, linguistic research only began in the 1990s. Erromintxela is a mixed language, deriving most of its vocabulary from Kalderash Romani but using Basque grammar, similar to the way the Angloromani language of the Roma in England mixes Romani vocabulary and English grammar. The development of this mixed language was facilitated by the unusually deep integration of the Errominxela people into Basque society and the resultant bilingualism in Basque. The language is in decline. Most of the perhaps 1,000 remaining speakers live on the coast of Labad and in the mountainous regions of Seoul, Navarre, Guipuzcoa and Biscay. The Errominxela are the descendants of a 15th-century wave of Kalderash Romani who entered the Basque Country via France. Both ethnically and linguistically, they are distinct from the Caló-speaking Romani people in Spain and the Cascarot-Romani people of the northern Basque Country. Name. The origin of the name Errominxela is unclear and may be of relatively recent origin. Basque speakers had previously grouped the Errominxela under more general terms for Romani such as Igital, Egyptians, Ungranok, Hungarians, or Bohemic, Bohemians. However, a number of authors believe it to be a Basque rendering of the French name Romanicel or Romani Michel, a name attested primarily in the vicinity of the Pyrenees and in particular the northern Basque Country. Romanicel is in turn a French rendering of the Romani phrase Romanicel, Romani person. Though now uncommon in France, it is found in the names of the British Romanichal and the Scandinavian Romanizale, all descendants, like the Errominxela, of a group of Roma who had migrated to France. Early attestations of the name in Basque include Errumantxela, Errumantxela, later Errumantxela and Errumantxela. The initial E is the Basque prosthetic vowel added because no Basque word may begin with an R, and the final A is the absolutive case suffix, used when citing a name. If this etymology is correct, it is a rare case of a native Romani name for themselves being borrowed by another language. The people identify themselves as Igital, Basque for gypsies, but more specifically as Errominxela, in contrast to the Caló-Romani, whom they refer to as the Zango Goriak, Basque for red legs. State of the language. There are currently an estimated 500 speakers in the southern Basque Country in Spain, approximately 2% of a population of 21,000 Romanis, and another estimated 500 in France. In Spain, the remaining fluent speakers are elderly people mostly over the age of 80. Some are equally fluent in Spanish, Basque, or Caló. Middle-aged Errominxela are mostly passive bilinguals, and the youngest speak only Basque or Spanish. In the northern Basque Country, however, the language is still being passed on to children. The percentage of speakers among Spanish Errominxela are higher than 2%, as large numbers of Caló-speaking Romanis moved to the Basque Country in the intense period of industrialization in the 20th century. Literary production. To date, there has been little literary production in the language. The most notable works are a poem by John Morand entitled Karma Goli in his 1997 anthology Oahotas and the 1999 novel Agirs Aheraran. Kartsalaldi Beriak by Koldo is Agira Aga with the main character using the language. History. The Errominxela arrived in the Basque Country in the 15th century speaking Kalderash Romani. They integrated much more deeply into Basque society than other Romani groups. In the process, they acquired the Basque language and adopted aspects of Basque culture such as increased rights of women and important traditions such as Bitzalartza and Pelota. Munoz and Lopez de Munguia suspected the morphological and phonological similarities between Romani and Basque facilitated the adoption of Basque grammar by the bilingual Romanis. It appears that many Romanis chose to stay in the Basque Country to escape persecution elsewhere in Europe. Nonetheless, even here they were not safe from persecution. For example, the Royal Council of Navarre in 1602 passed an edict to round up all vagabonds, who were to be condemned to 6 years of galley duty. By the 18th century, however, attitudes had changed, and the emphasis shifted towards integration. In 1780 to 1781, the courts of Navarre passed Law 23, which called for the authorities to take care of them, find them locations for settlement and honest occupations and ways of living. Research. The oldest account of the language dates to 1855, when the French ethnographer Justin Senac-Monco located the Errominxela primarily in the northern Basque Country. The oldest coherent Errominxela text, a poem entitled Carmagoli, published by Basque writer John Morand in a collection of Basque poetry, only dates to California, 1960. Alexandre Baudrimont's 40-page study Vocabulaire de la langue des Bohémiens habitants les Pays Basques Français of 1862, the most extensive of the early accounts, covers both vocabulary and aspects of grammar. He worked with 2 female informants, a mother and her daughter from the Uhart Mix area near St. Palais, whom he describes as highly fluent. Unfortunately, he was only able to conduct a single session as the women were then told not to cooperate further for the fear of outsiders prying into the secrets of the Romani. There is a certain degree of confusion in Baudrimont's publication. He himself states that he could not always be certain the correct forms were elicited. For example, most of the verb forms he tried to elicit lack the verbal to ending and appear to be participles. The French sociologist Victor de Roches refers to the Romani in the northern Basque Country speaking Basque, rather than French, in his 1876 Les Parias de Français d'Espagne. The canon Jean-Baptiste Aronnax published a word list in the periodical Escule d'un Honor in 1906, and in 1921 Berraondo and Oyarbide carried out some research. Although labeled Gitano a Bohemian Gitan, some data can also be found in Ascu's 1905 dictionary and Pierre Land's 1926 dictionary, both of which list a number of words identifiable as Errominxela. Little more was done until the late 20th century. In 1986, Federico Krutwig published a short article in the Revista Internacional de Estudios Vascos entitled Los Gitanos Vascos, with a short word list on a brief analysis of the language's morphology. However, the most detailed research to date was carried out by Basque philologist Josune Munoz and historian Elias Lopez de Munguia, who began the work in the southern Basque Country in 1996 at the behest of the Romani organization Kalderash, with support from the Euskaltzaindia and the University of the Basque Country. Kalderash, who had been working to promote the Romani language, was alerted to the existence of Errominxela in the 1990s through an article by the historian Alesia Stotas, a Gotak, Juduicatorijito Koskal Herin, a Goats, Jews, and Gypsies in the Basque Country. Kalderash intends to continue research into the language, attitudes, identity, and history of the Errominxela people in the less well-researched provinces of Navarre and the northern Basque Country. Linguistic Features. The research by Munoz and Lopez de Munguia has confirmed that Errominxela is not derived from Caló, the mixed Spanish-Romani language spoken throughout Spain, but is instead based on Kalderash Romani and a Basque language. The vocabulary appears to be almost exclusively Romani in origin. The grammar, however, both morphology and syntax, derives from various Basque dialects. Few traces appear to remain of Romani grammatical structures. The language is incomprehensible to speakers of both Basque and of Caló. Typologically, Errominxela displays the same features as the Basque dialects it derives its grammatical structures from. Its case marking follows the ergative absolutive pattern where the subject of an intransitive verb is in the absolutive case, the same case being used for the direct object of the transitive verb. The subject of the transitive verb is marked with the ergative case. Similarly, auxiliary verbs agree with the subject and any direct object and indirect object. Present and verb forms are marked for allocutive. Since both Errominxela and Caló derive from Romani, many Errominxela words are similar to Spanish Caló and Catalan Caló. Phonology. According to Baudrymont's description of 1862 and modern southern sources, Errominxela appears to have, at maximum, the sound system below. Southern speakers appear not to have the rounded vowel y or the consonant theta in line with north-south differences in Basque, and it is not clear if the northern distinction between and also exists in the south. Baudrymont uses a semi-phonetic system with the following diverging conventions. Morphology. Examples of morphological features in Errominxela. Verb formation. Most verbs have a Romani root plus the Basque verb-forming suffix 2. Examples of Errominxela verbs are given below. Most Errominxela verbal inflections are virtually identical to those found in Basque dialects. Negations are formed with napnagi, cf. Basque zets. The word for yes is uwe, cf. Basque bytes. Nouns. The majority of nouns have Romani roots, but frequently attested with Basque suffixes. The variation of nouns cited with or without a final a is likely due to informants supplying them with or without the absolutive ending. Time. According to Baudrymont, the Errominxela have adopted the Basque names of the months. Note that some of the Basque names represent pre-standardization names of the months, e.g. August as a buzztua in Standard Basque rather than Igorila. Baudrymont claims that subdivisions of the year are formed with the word brevha, yet brevha Inuit month, and brevha Kipia week. Numerals, adjectives and adverbs. Adjectives and adverbs are also mostly derived from Romani forms. Pronouns and amp. Demonstratives. Pronouns are derived from both languages. Baudrymont's material. Much of Baudrymont's word list is easily related to other Errominxela sources. However, some of the material collected by Baudrymont deserves a more detailed overview due to its peculiarities. Most of these relate to the verbs and verb forms he collected, but some include nouns and other items. Nouns. His material contains a relatively high number of Basque-derived items. Certain items are peculiar. Baudrymont lists minter as tooth. The Kalderash term is dand, but the term given is immediately more reminiscent of northern Basque mintizer speech, or minsa skin. This, and other similar items, raise the question of whether Baudrymont was simply pointing at items to elicit forms. The forms he attempted to elicit are questionable in some cases as well. For example, he attempted to agricultural terms such as plough, harrow and aftermath from his informants, and records the suspiciously similar sasta, plough and zacha, harrow. Verb system and pronouns. The verb systems and pronouns recorded by Baudrillard is peculiar in several ways. Apart from his problem of eliciting the citation form of verbs as opposed to participles, he lists pronouns and possessive pronouns that appear to contain Romani roots and an unexpected auxiliary. The verbiage in for, to have, attested elsewhere, although Basque-derived forms appear more common overall. Kalderash Romani employs the third person of to be and a dative pronoun to express ownership. One note that forms like duck are the verbal part, whereas errominchela is a pronoun. The negative particle none is fairly clear in the forms above. Buta, as Baudrillard notes, is the word for much, many, and may not be a true pronoun. Kalderash uses the accusative pronouns to express possession, but the forms above are more reminiscent of wrongly parsed Kalderash dative forms mange, tuke, leski, eli acute k, etc., and perhaps a different case of to be. On the whole, it raises questions about the level of communication between Baudrillard and his informants and the quality of material elicited. Connected examples. Examples with interlinear versions. Bibliography. Baudrillard, A vocabulaire de la langue des Bohémiens habitants les Pays Basques Français, Académie impériale des sciences, Bordeaux. Berarando, al Oscara de los Gitanos en Euskal Rinaldi, Revista de Cultura Vasca. Macricci, D. Accounts of the Gypsies of India. New Society Publications, New Delhi, 2007. Reprint ISBN 9781406750058. Michel F. Le Pays Basque, Paris.